Hello. Welcome to our UBC panel with these amazing students, and we're here to answer your questions about UBC, life at UBC, just everything around that. So I guess before we start off, let's just have the panelists introduce themselves. Ihsan, do you want to start?
Sure, yeah, I can go. So I'm Ihsan. I'm in fourth year computer engineering at UBC, and that's another thing worth knowing. So the co-captain of UBC Snots, which is a design team that runs out of UC. They focus on robotics and stuff like that.
And Komal, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Komal Singh. I am a second year computer science student at UBC Okanagan. Wait, just making sure my mic wasn't muted. Okay. UBC Okanagan, second year. My pronouns are she and her. Some of my hobbies include playing the piano, photography, and painting. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. And Suki, would you like to introduce yourself, your name, your program, and also perhaps a fun fact about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Suki. Can you guys hear me? I think
Yes.
my micro is kind of stuck. Okay. So my name is Suki, and I am now the third year student majoring in computer science combined statistics at UBC. And currently, I am working as a undergraduate research assistant at UBC Human Interaction Team, Human Computer Interaction Team. And yeah, just feel free to ask me anything about research or the career development or something. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so with introductions made, let's dive straight into the panel. For each of you, here are a few questions about your experience in tech. So, how did you get started in technology? Like, what got you interested in it? What made you realize that you wanted to choose the major that you chose? For Ihsan, that's engineering, and for Komal and Suki, that's CS. Like, what, I guess, inspired that?
I can go first. So the reason why I chose computer science is that I think it is a great major that I joined.
Suki, I think your mic is like.
Yeah, I think it's a little weird.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Oops.
Okay, yeah, I think that was a microphone problem.
Yeah. Wait, so okay, should I just
Yeah.
go on what Suki's big thing?
Yeah, I
Okay.
guess Suki, I'll just let you deal with that for a second.
Yeah.
Kamal, do you want to answer that question?
Okay. So the reason why I chose, well, okay, first of all, I want to start off with I did first year computer engineering actually. Well, I wouldn't say computer engineering because first year engineering is just common. You don't declare your major yet. So you kind of just study a little bit of everything. So I did first year engineering and I applied to UBC for engineering. And then I wanted to declare my major as computer engineering and shift to UBC Vancouver. But I did not get housing in Vancouver, but I got housing in Okanagan. So I decided to stay in Okanagan, but make the switch to computer science. Initially, actually, I really wanted to do computer science because computer science is more software based and computer engineering is more hardware based. And I'm not really interested in the hardware stuff. I'm more interested towards software and coding. So yeah, made the switch to computer science and I'm in second year right now, but I have to retake first year courses since I switched my degree. And I really, really like it. I enjoy it a lot because I really like coding and I like math. But the story behind me even going into the computer field is that in grade 9, my math teacher told me about a CEMC workshop, which stands for like computer engineering. I'm not sure the full form of it, but it's organized by University of Waterloo, and I believe it's still a thing. Like if you just Google CEMC University of Waterloo, and it'll show up. It didn't happen last year because of COVID. But I think it's back on now. I'm not sure. The way it works is that they pick 30 to 35 girls from all over Canada. They have applications, and the applications include your math grade and an essay describing an introduction of yourself and your math grade, and then just like telling them why you want to be a part of the workshop. And if you get selected, you go to University of Waterloo for a week, and they take care of all your expenses, food, flight, everything is included. And you go there and you take intro level CS classes, just like intro to coding, and we made a really cool paint program, like literally like MS Paint, and that was so good and so cool. And that's how I knew that, oh, this is the career I want to go into. I want to do something in technology and computers and coding. So yeah, that's how I chose my major.
Yeah, that's a very interesting story, and it's good to see that there's programs out there that inspire all different sorts of people to pursue technology. And the CEMC is definitely still a thing. I think it's the Center of Education in Mathematics and Computing, and I think it's
Go.
the organization that runs all the math contests like the Euclid, the CSMC, and also like the Canadian Computing Challenge and stuff like that. So if you're interested, definitely check that out. And I guess I'll just bring it back to Suki. Suki, before your mic started acting all weird, you were giving us a pretty interesting story. So
Yeah, so like, can you guys hear me now? How about my mic? Good.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I like it reminds me that like in my first year, CS professor told me that like if you chose your computer science, like if you chose computer science in your major, your like both career path and your research path will be broadened. Yeah, because like computer science, you can combine any major you want. Like computer science combines statistics. Like you can go to the big data or data science major, and computer science combine economics, and you can like do some quant stuff. So yeah, so that really like interested me. Like I think like computer science is a major that if you can build something on your own, you can somehow change your world or the whole world or like yeah. So it's a fairly interesting major. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for your answer. And I guess you also, I think, wait, you're also an international student, right?
I'm international student. So yeah,
Yeah, so
I haven't think about like going to computer science when I apply for UBC. Cause like in my country, people always think about like going for a fairly high pay job or something, or like completely going forward to make fairly perfect performance in academic.
so that's definitely interesting. And I guess we can actually go back to that later on when we talk about extracurriculars because it's
Yeah.
definitely different in other places. But right now I hand it to Ihsan. Ihsan, how did you discover your passion for tech? Was there anything that prompted you to say, oh, this is something I like?
Yes, it started with probably AP Computer Science. I think it was one of the few AP courses I was actually able to take in grade 10, and then at that time, just working through the problems and writing code to solve different problems, create different programs and stuff like that. Working through those was fairly interesting, and then somewhere along the way, I also started as autonomous cars were starting to become more interesting, and I thought, okay, this would something along the lines of robotics would be pretty cool to delve into and potentially get involved in creating things as cool as autonomous cars. And during first year, I also got into UC engineering, went through the general program. There was the one coding course that went well for me, and then partway through I also joined UBC Snowbots, and that further cemented the idea that robotics would be a great place to put my efforts into. So that's what initially spurred the, I guess, that's what initially got me into choosing computer engineering. And then from there, I realized the hardware side of things was a lot more difficult than could be predicted. But some of the later courses were combined both the hardware and software in a way that was more, I guess, more robotics focused, and that further suggested that yes, I was still in the right program, although with maybe some yes, yeah, I was in right place, but with some potentially rough patches.
Yeah, sounds like you guys had some pretty interesting journeys just going into tech. And like, I'm just curious, but can you guys like, I guess, tell me about a little bit about the projects you've worked on throughout the years? Like Ethan, you talked about that you got into robotics. Do you want me to tell about like? Do you want to tell the audience perhaps about what the process was like, how you learned it,
Okay, I
some
guess
things
I
you
can
worked
start
on?
off
Yeah.
with I'll start off with the that's what happened, how I got into robotics first year thing. So that's the onboarding task I was given for joining UBC Snowbots was to uh, essentially program one of their existing rovers to follow a simple obstacle course drawn out with cones. So that the to begin, I had to learn about the existing systems UC Snowbots had, existing code base, and figure out how to also figure out how to yes contribute software effectively and read existing code. And from there, and when it got to writing code, it was more than just answering a simple prompt. I had to review the requirements, and after reviewing requirements and uh, getting the code reviewed, had to had to think of various potential edge cases in terms of what would happen if the rover were to see certain objects, and how to account for different situations. So that's the overall process that I was shown the steps of the overall development process, and that part was very useful in terms of how I approached writing code in the future.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that with us. And Kumal, as a CS student, I'm guessing like the projects that you've done are very different. So do you want to tell us a bit about like what you do as a CS student and maybe like what you code?
Yeah. Um, so I did first year engineering and I had a computer class in that, which was more about C++. And because it was online and it was during COVID, we didn't really get to do like big projects, just like class assignments, like finding the area of a circle, rectangle, that kind of stuff. But like I said, in during my workshop at Waterloo, we made a program kind of like MS Paint, where you would take input from the user and you'd like draw circle, square, basic shapes, right? I haven't really done complex coding, but right now the project we are working on for my computer science is we're making a game show. So it's kind of like a trivia night. So basically it's like you have 3 players and you put in a list of questions, answers, and the user enters the answers, and then you get points, and you can insert like pictures as a background and stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't say that I've worked on any big projects so far, but just because like I'm also retaking first year, so I'm just doing like little things for now. But I'm definitely excited to get more experience along the way and work on bigger projects.
Yeah, glad to hear that. Lots of optimism for the future. And Suki, you do, as I understand, you do research. So do you want to talk about maybe some projects you've undertaken in that field?
Related to the research.
Yeah, or anything you've done in CS or coding.
Yeah, for CS, I do have a lot of project. So for my personal project, that one is a course project. So we use Java to develop our own like desktop app, and that one is a really good way for us to practice how to use Java and OOP or design pattern or something. So I built a university help desk, which helped the university student to book a study place in the library or in some study room. And I also built some other project using TypeScript and also some cloud computing function. So that one is more related to a food delivery app, and like for according like about the user sign up, or just like a real app, but we didn't like put it into the practical. And yeah, and just want to mention that there are a lot tons of courses in Udemy or Coursera. You can go to like register for those courses, and they will direct you to build your own personal project, or you can also like ask few of your friends to build the whole project all together, and that one can be a really big project and can put it into your resume.
Yeah, so lots of different things that you've worked on. I think that's really exciting. And I guess now that we know the speakers a little better, we can dive into the questions that everyone's thinking about, which is university. And of course, university is an academic institution. So maybe we can start off with, what are the courses like? What unique courses does your program have? And what's your favorite and least favorite? So I guess, Ihsan, since you have the most experience as you've been in university, you're a fourth year student, what kind of unique things does engineering at UBC offer?
Okay. So that's a typical feature of engineering degrees at UC is that typically every course load is typically at least 1 or 2 courses more than standard course load. So it's not uncommon to find people doing 6 or 7 courses a term, which is quite a bit. But terms in computer engineering, at least in second year, you're you have you have your yes, your programming course designed to teach you yes programming, how to the basic principles of programming. You also have some math courses as for multivariable calculus and differential calculus. And there's circuits and a specific class to teach you about hardware design, how to design digital logic for systems like PCs, and how to design a system that can properly execute assembly code. So typically circuits courses are fairly challenging, and even more challenging turns out to be the hardware design course. And it's they're, in terms of workload, they're pretty hefty. But another key course that I think distinguishes computer engineering from computer science is every year there's a project course where the entire purpose of the course is to, by the end of the course, build a system that consists of both hardware components and software components, and that system ends up doing something useful. Those those are pretty rewarding, especially if you're working with a good team. And from there, you end up learning a lot about how to interface hardware and software to do something useful.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, especially with both the hardware and software components. And Suki, as a CS student, what courses are unique to your program, and which is your favorite and least favorite?
I think I would say the course I am taking now, I like it most, which is CPSC 310. That one is a software engineering course, an introduction to the software engineering, and we are asking to doing a group project, and then that project involving building a backend in our own, and also have some interesting front end you can also build it by your own. And then and this course is really showing that like how the software engineering the life could be, and then showing that the agile development process, and then you kind of know what can be done, and your potential is, and where your potential is. And then I like it, but for the course that I hate, I would say there's a course called Math 302, which is an introduction to the probability, I guess. So the reason why I hate it is not because the content. I hate it because the professor. Well, how to say? So it is a fairly new professor. So yeah. So and have fairly strong accent. So the first midterm of the average in our class is only 40 to 42, I guess. So that's fairly low. And yeah, so yeah, I really don't like this kind of course. That's it.
Yeah, no worries. There's all courses that we like, courses that we don't like, and might not, might be for various reasons. And Komal, as another CS student, what is your opinion? And what programs does CS at Okanagan offer?
Yeah, so a unique thing that I like about the science program is that you get to choose electives. Electives are basically like options that you had in high school, right? Like they're optional courses that you take beside from your regular like degree path. So you can choose anything. Like you can literally take astronomy, which I found really interesting. It's a really interesting class. Um, and then I also took French because I like learning about languages. And French, I've been doing it like I took French IB in high school, so it's something I'm very familiar with. And I like that course a lot as well. My favorite course is coding, of course. That's how I took this path, right? I really like coding because it's very structural and kind of concrete, like um, you just I really also like the process of working on a project and like going through the whole process of writing the code, debugging it, and then when you see the final product, you get that sort of satisfaction. You feel so proud of yourself. That's something I really, really like. And that's why that's my favorite course. My least favorite course would probably be econ. I took economics as my elective because solely because my friends were like, "Oh, it's really easy. It's an easy course. You get GPA boost." I guess it's easy, but it's so boring to me. I don't. It's all about like profit loss and the market, and it's a you have to memorize the formulas, which I don't really understand why. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a lot of formulas too. Like it's not just like one. It's like real GDP, nominal GDP, blah blah blah. Like I guess it's easy if you know the formula, but if you don't know the formula, you're kind of just screwed. But yeah, so I guess just like my advice would be that try to pick electives that actually interest you and not because they're easy grades, right? Like I was taking astronomy and I really find that interesting. So if you do find a course interesting, you're bound to excel in it because you're actually going to focus in class, you're going to focus on your homework and have fun while doing it, right? But if you're just going to take a course for like marks, you might not even do good at it because you're not interested in it, you know? So yeah, just choose your electives wisely and you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's a great moral. Make sure you pursue things you know love and not because someone else tells you to. And I guess diving further into the idea of courses, what are the tests and assignments like from your major? Is it like, oh, code for 5 hours? Or is it study for math until your brain falls out of your head?
Okay, I can start. So the way it works is that some I've heard that only some courses have two midterms a term. So you have your midterms first. Class start in September. You have your midterms in October, and then you have a second set of midterms in November, and then you have your finals in December. The first set of midterms is worth less percentage of your grade as compared to the second. Like the first set of midterms is only worth like 15%. Again, this is depends from course to course, prof to prof, but this is usually how it works. First midterm is worth a little bit less than the second midterm, and then your final, which is worth a lot. And so for computer science, like the co-science courses, um, because of COVID, you have to do your exam on paper. Doesn't make sense because it's a coding exam. Like, why would you do it on paper? I'm not sure. But our teacher just said that, our prof said that it's because they can't book the computer labs because of capacity in COVID, because there's 250 kids, right? And he doesn't want to like have separate sessions. So he thought that it's easier to just have it on paper instead. But because it's on paper, you have to memorize all the syntax, all the like proper terminology, the types of brackets to use, and you have to practice writing code on paper at home like a lot. So that's a little bit challenging, but other than that, I mean, the difficulty isn't that much, especially because in science, you don't have to take like um, a lot of courses per term. Like for me right now, it's only like four. So it's quite manageable. If you just manage your time well, it's pretty doable.
Honestly, I'd freak out too if I had to write code on paper. And Ihsan, coming from a completely different program, what are your thoughts?
All right.
And
So with as with the exams I've had to do, a lot of them go beyond. They typically go beyond what you'd have in your homework. They want you to be able. They want to test your ability to apply concepts you've covered in class and on the homework to new situations. As I mean, that's kind of true to a lesser extent for high school tests as well. But typically, even a lot of times, doing the homework or doing the homework, coming to class, and taking notes will not get you. It's not going to get you the top marks possible. To go above and beyond, you're going to need to you're going to need to practice and figure out what concepts are what concepts are beyond you at the moment, and figure out how to use your learning style to cover those concepts and practice those in time for your exams.
Yeah, it's a good piece of advice, and hope you guys accept that. And Suki, what is your experience with assignments and exams in your major?
Well, in my major, we kind of like I just in conclusion I found that like in the first year and second year, like professor always like made the calendar like higher percentage in midterm and final, but when it comes to third year, I think the exam and like midterm or final become more flexible. For example, like I took one of the SAS course this term. If you got fairly high mark in your first midterm, you are feel free to skip your second midterm, and then the weight of the second midterm can be moved to the first one. And yeah, and also some project based courses like 310, they only focusing on your project mark, and then there would not be any midterm but some small quizzes instead. Yes, so I think it fairly depends. In our first 2 year, it will more help like to ask the student to memorize the concept, and when it moved to the third and fourth year, they will ask us to like learn from practice.
There's an interesting dichotomy. Hope you guys learned something about differing years in university as well. And moving aside from courses into extracurriculars, of course, there's a lot of stuff that you probably want to do outside of school. And Ihsan, you're a part of UBC Snowbots, and you've mentioned that quite a few times already. So maybe would you talk about like how that is, maybe the leadership that goes into it, and stuff like that, and maybe some other extracurriculars that you do.
Okay, so in terms of what UBC Snots entails, every yes, we've been targeting the Canadian International Rover Challenge. So that's a competition that runs out of Drumheller in Alberta. There's also this year they're planning to introduce another. They're planning to run another competition also in Saskatoon. So the competitions are set up in a couple ways. They mainly have an obstacle course, and that obstacle course they have that various objects for that the rover should avoid, and points are given for you. While the course can be completed without autonomous control, additional points are provided if the rover is able to complete the course autonomously. Further, as on top of that, there's other tasks that require analysis of the current location of the rover. Potentially, that could just involve the rover looking around and identifying objects, or additionally, the rover could, dig around and analyze the soil and provide summary statistics on what the soil's characteristics are. To do that, to accomplish all these things, there are many aspects that go into building this rover. There's software aspect that I've spent some time on. That would be involving the autonomous systems and how to process vision and compute the statistics. Then the rover itself is also a bunch of computers and sensors and routers. So there's the electrical aspect of how to connect these and power these efficiently. And then there's the actual physical structure of the rover. So it's a very interdisciplinary it's a very interdisciplinary team. And even Even I guess there's also other aspects that the team has to deal with, such as I guess promoting the team and getting funding, which are also yes not specifically um, engineering based tasks, but nonetheless very important.
Yeah, thanks about talking about your extracurriculars. And Komal, I think you mentioned that you had a lot of different hobbies like photography, and I think during the workshop you mentioned esports as well. So I'm just curious, like, what sort of extracurriculars do you do outside of school?
Yeah, so I actually play the piano, and that's like my main chunk of my time goes towards that hobby. And then yeah, I'm also a part of the UBCO Esports Club. I'm actually one of the coordinators, so my main role is just to like um, take care of the promotional aspect. So what we do is like we have different games, and then we have different teams for that, and they participate in tournaments, competitions, that kind of stuff. But my main focus is that I make posters, and I use that. I use a digital platform called Canva, and I make posters on there, and then we print those posters out and put them all around campus, and also put the poster on Instagram, Twitter, and the Discord server. Kind of just promote people to come join in events like watch parties. Like there was a big like tournament happening past week, and we had a finals watch party for it yesterday. So we just booked like a lecture hall, and then we had people come in, and we streamed the tournament that was happening, and we just had a watch party for it. So that's basically what happens. It's just like events just to build a community, get people to feel a part of university life, meet people with like the same interests as you, games, anything in general, right? So yeah, that's basically what I do. And photography, I just do that when I go on a trip or something. It's not really um it's not I'm not a professional, but I just like to do it sometimes. And then whenever I have some free time, I like to follow YouTube tutorials on drawing, painting, that sort of stuff.
That sounds like very rich, very rich lifestyle I got there. Lots of different things. And Suki, would you maybe like to talk about your extracurriculars as well? I know that's like a little. There's that shift from I think school in China because they're just all about the marks and school here, which is about a lot of different things. So maybe you'd like to talk about your experiences in that as well.
Right, indeed. So I am an international student, come from China, and you know that like Chinese students, especially in high school, they always like spend nearly all of their time to perform well in their exam, and seldom to have like time to spend in their own hobby. So to be honest, before I come to UBC, I don't have I didn't done any volunteer work, or I didn't done like I didn't spend much time in my own hobby. So I even don't have a hobby. So after I came to UBC have tons of like volunteer opportunity, and also have a like weekly newsletter from the department, like ask us to like join some social society activity or something. So I joined a club, which is a content related club, and that club help like will have some master student or PhD student come from U of T, or like some other Canada university to help us to build a side project, and also have some hackathon like held by some like big tech company. And then I also done a lot of volunteer work after I come to UBC, and that really helped. And I also now working part-time as a assistant principal in an education company. So this experience also helped me to get my first RA ship the research assistant intern or something. So yeah, I think extracurricular activity really count and it really matter. Although like you already come into university. Yeah, that's it.
I want to mention is just like if you play the piano, then UBC Okanagan offers like these music rooms that we have in our building, which is just like private rooms. We have like 3 of those with piano. You just go in and you can just play the piano by yourself, maybe have friends or something. But yeah, if that's something that you like, then that's also an option.
Yeah, so it's really interesting just seeing all of these different extracurriculars. And I guess another question that people might be thinking about in regards to university is the campus. So just a real quick question to each of the panelists. Do you live on campus or do you live at home or do you like?
I live at home, about an hour away.
I am campus.
Yeah, I live on campus as well.
Okay, so perhaps we could start with the campuses. So Suki, what is the main campus like? What is the Vancouver campus
You mean
like?
Vancouver campus?
Yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. So actually, I've already lived in various residents in UBC. Like I think regardless, I think the security is really good. Like we don't have to worry about our own safety, and there are a lot of like free free room for us to study, especially in some in the front desk, and also as we mentioned before, the piano room. We also have a piano room in main campus, and also I think every weekend there would be some university band playing in like next to the residence. So I think yeah, that's fairly good. And there's a beach in the just inside UBC, and that beach is really popular in North America, I guess. And yeah, the whole environment is really good, and also the study atmosphere is fairly strong.
I can go ahead. So I live on UBC Okanagan campus, and basically the Okanagan campus is fairly new. Like it's still, I think it's about 10 years old. I'm not sure, but there's still a lot of building going on. Like recently, last year, they opened a new dining hall. It's like a whole building with dining hall, another gym, just for residences, or people living on residence. Private gym. There's also a convenience store opening, and that's where the music rooms are, lounge, study rooms. Um, it's a really, really nice place. Um, Also, the dining hall is a buffet. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet. If you don't have a meal plan, you can just pay and get in. And there's different types of foods. There's like different like counters. There's like Italian, a chef's table, which is like specialties, a grill, a salad, fruit, soup, coffee. Like it's really good. It's new and it's really good. I live on residence, and the the apartment I have is like the unit I have is like an apartment. It's a big area with like 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, main kitchen, lounge, balcony, and it's actually really nice. Like nothing is like broken or anything. The quality is very nice. It's very quiet. It's peaceful. There's a lot of study areas that are also very quiet and nice and peaceful. And yeah, coming with the safety aspect, there's also a UBC safety app. So if like say you're on campus and you want to walk home and like or to your dorm and you don't feel safe, even I think at home, you have to walk and you don't feel safe, you can just go on the app and someone will come get you and walk with you. So you don't feel unsafe or alone, right? So that is also really, really nice. Also, you get a U pass, which is basically part of your tuition, and you can take the transit using just your student ID card. There's also a lot of other nice places to eat on campus itself. The campus is like really beautiful as well, especially like it's fall just now and the trees are very colorful and pretty and nice. Yeah, it's really a beautiful campus to live in for sure.
Like realize that there are aurora in Vancouver last week, and you can see aurora just inside the resident first year resident, and that's really amazing. And then also we have double rainbow this week, and you can also see that rainbow just inside the residence. So yeah, that's really amazing.
Wow, that sounds. We'll definitely want to go to the UBC because of the environment, which is really good. Like BC has like this great scenery, and if you're a sucker for a few good tourist sites, you might want to come here. And Ihsan, so do you commute from home to university, right?
Yes. So
And how's that?
how's it? Okay. So yes, there is a UPass which essentially gives you unlimited travel within Metro Vancouver at least. Um, so it's pretty. It's compared to if you were to buy that. If you were to buy the just a general unlimited travel pass, that would cost you about over nearly 200 a month, possibly more. But with the UPass, it's including your tuition at 40 a month, so it's very very cost effective. And in terms as trend take public transit during rush hour has its yes, it's not a fun thing to do, especially with delays and full packed buses and all that. But I mean, it gets the job done. It works. So yeah, that's mainly it's, it's mainly it. I guess there are the other aspect of commuting is that depending on depending on where you're situated, if public transit isn't great in your area and you don't have access to a car, commuting definitely limits what you're able to do on campus and how it also affects other things like how much sleep you're getting and stuff like that. So there are definitely trade-offs to commuting, but you also end up saving on various other things along the way.
Yeah. So a lot of people want to go to UBC because they already live close to the campus. Like personally, I live in Richmond, and I know that a lot of my classmates want to go to UBC because it's just like a 30-minute drive away. So perhaps this would be some helpful information if you're looking to do that. And I guess hopping on to the hot topic, which is admissions. Everyone has that in their minds because it is application season and everyone wants to, know about, oh, what extracurriculars or, oh my God, the marks. So let's talk a little bit about that, I guess. So I think something that a lot of people usually ask is grades. Like, do you think grades are really, really important in the applications? Do you think maybe extracurriculars are more important? And if you are comfortable with sharing, like, what were your grades?
All right, I guess I can take a stab at that initially. Um, so as having a well-written personal profile may possibly make up for slightly less than average grades, but having having really good grades will typically as having very good grades may get you early admission, which is nice, and having very good grades in combination with a really strong personal profile may potentially get you a major entrance scholarship, which is also very nice. But in terms of regular admission, I suspect that having having good grades first will, I guess, having good grades will give you a better chance than having slightly less than average grades, but or slightly less than cutoff grades, but with a strong personal profile. I think as time gets closer to when the admissions process stops, that's when the personal profile starts to advocate more and talk more and explain more about what you're capable of. But initially onwards, at least for regular admission, I suspect that grades count count the most.
And wait, I'm not sure whether you do this because right now I'm forgetting things, but if you're comfortable, would you mind sharing like kind of around like where your grades landed around the ballpark when you applied?
Okay. I just think I forgot what I think I submitted. I had to submit grade 11 grades and then grade 12 grades. I forgot where my grade 11 grades were at, but I think the grade 12 grades were around maybe 95-ish, probably around there.
Mm.
So they were pretty as far as things are concerned, and I think my grade 11 grades were slightly less than that. But yes, I think as soon as I self-reported the grade 12 grades, I think a couple days later, I was informed that I got my acceptance.
Yeah, thanks for your response. And Komal, how was your application process?
Yeah, okay. So just for some of you guys who don't really know about the UBC admission process, basically it's you have your grades and then you also have a personal profile, and your personal profile is just like a bunch of questions that are about you and yourself. Like it's not an essay because it's just like a bunch of questions that you have to answer, and there would be like a word limit as well. It's like 500 words, 1,000 words, something. And the questions would be something like, oh, how would your friends, family, the community around you describe you? um, what are list 5 extracurricular activities that you do outside of school? Describe 2 of them. And what are some of your achievements, strengths, weaknesses, that kind of thing. And that's because UBC wants to know more about you, and they know that you're a person more than just your grades, just your numbers. So you have your grades and then you have your personal profile. For your grades, they look at your grade 11 and grade 12 marks. Even if you haven't completed your grade 12 courses, you just put in like your current mark that you have right now. And of course, the averages depend from faculty to faculty. So engineering is really, really competitive. Um, I applied into engineering, and my average, like, um, based on basically, you need your math mark, English, physics, chemistry, and then your fifth mark is the top mark that you have overall in your school. You have to submit like your entire high school transcript, right? And then your fifth mark is just your top best mark. So in my case, I think it was my French mark. Actually, no, engineering does not take languages. So if you took French, engineering doesn't count that, but other faculties do. So I think my fifth top mark was probably just social. Um, so yeah, those 5 averages combined, my grade was around like 88 or so. Yeah, so you just submit that, hand it in, and I believe applications are open right now, and the deadline is December 1st. If I'm not wrong, you can just like check it, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I think September 1st is early admissions.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, early admissions. Yeah. You're right.
January
Okay.
15th would be later, the regular admission.
Yeah, I encourage early admissions. Although there isn't like a first come first serve policy, it's not like that. But I don't know, just cause. So yeah, you submit that, and then I applied for that, and then I didn't hear from my offer till like June, I think. So yeah, just like have patience. Another thing that I did though was after my application, I wrote a follow-up email because it was COVID. COVID was like really big then. All the schools were shut and their admission process was getting delayed as well. So I wrote a follow-up email just to like um, see my process. And what I wrote in the email was like the things that I did over COVID and how what achievements I achieved during quarantine and how life has been, kind of just like update them, give them a follow up, you know. And then yeah, I heard about my offer in June for engineering. Also, I saw a question about retaking courses, repeating courses. So I'm just gonna go over that if that's okay. So I actually retook courses. I took like some of them. Like for my chemistry, I retook grade 11 chemistry. The way I did it was my grade 11 chemistry AP. I took AP, and my first mark was like around 85 or something. But when I got into grade 12 and I knew UBC was my first choice, I was like, oh, this is bringing down my average a bit. I want to retake it. But I was already registered in my grade 12 chemistry at that time. So what I did was I went to my counselor and they said, okay, you can retake grade 11 chemistry as a module. Module is just like, what they do is they give you like packages, like unit 1, and then you just have to complete their like, it's like really long, like 30 pages, and it's just like question answers, exercises, all that kind of stuff. You hand in the module and then you get an exam to do in like your school library for me. And then you do your exam, and then that's how you complete your 4 units. It's all self-studying. And my mark went up a lot. Like I think my average for that course was like 95 or something. So definitely boosted me a lot. Yeah, it helped me a lot. And UBC's take on repeated courses is that basically in your high school transcript, there's like an asterisk if you retook a course, and it shows both your marks. So your first mark is like, for me, it was like 85 and then 95. They know that I retook the course, but they are going to take the 95 one. So the higher of the two is how it works. But in the admission process, so say my overall average was like 92. There's another kid whose overall average was also 92. But in their transcript, they did not repeat any courses, but I did. So they will pick them instead of me. So retaking courses is completely fine, as long as you have that thing, right? But then again, like I said, I had a 92 average because I retook a course. That already put me high up on the list, right? So everyone whose averages was below 90, yeah, they didn't retake courses, but their average is below 90. So I have an advantage over all of those students, and thus I have a higher chance of getting in. That being said, don't think like, oh, I got 94% in math, grade 10, I'm going to retake it and get 100. Like, don't do that to yourself. It's just more workload, and sometimes it's not even possible. Like, what if you get below? Then they won't take your higher mark. They will take your second mark, the latest one that you got, even if it's lower, right? So you just have to keep that in mind.
And Suki, applying as an international student, it's probably a little different. So do you want to talk about your application process and how it was for you?
Yeah, for sure. Can you guys hear me? I think the rain is very heavy. Okay. So as an international student, and I took the college entrance exam in China, which is like really hard. You guys know that. And then like firstly I would get a conditional offer, and that one I applied using my whole high school score in my high school, and then I have to submit all my extracurricular activity as well. But like as I mentioned, I can't like I don't actually have much, but I do have some. Like I joined the like I am one of our high school math competition team, and also chemistry competition team, and also physics competition team. So yeah, I think that one really boosts my chance to get into UBC. And then also I am the student council leader, the president of our student council. So that one maybe show my leadership. So yeah, I also write it into my statement or something. Yeah, and then um according to all my international friends in UBC, like they always have the same ability, like showing that we have innovation skills, or like we have a lot of competition experience. And also like in that case we will get a conditional offer, and that conditional offer asks us to like submit our college entrance exam grade after we got the grade. So the average I ask for my international students, we always have at least 600 uh 600 or 700 720. Yeah, and that score actually pretty high in China. So yeah, so that's totally different from like local.
Mhm. And I guess this is a good segue into extracurriculars because we just talked a lot about it. But before we do that, there is a question about the admissions that asks, is it mandatory to provide teacher references for UBC admissions?
I think the application process will, the SSC will not let you submit the application without putting down names. But I am not, I do not think unless there's if there's some sort of anomaly, they might contact the reference, but in most cases, they probably will not contact the reference. There's, yeah, so essentially, don't don't lie on your application, and you'll be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, from
never.
what I remember as well, you have to give like one teacher reference and then one like any reference. Um, and for me, I gave my piano teacher's reference and then my English teacher's reference. This is because like they kind of want to just know like how you are as a student in school and versus outside of school. But from what I know, they never contacted my piano teacher. So I think references are just like if they think that your application is um like not, they don't think that it's completely true or something, then they might contact references. But so for the question, yeah, you have to provide like one teacher reference from your school and then one non-teacher.
Yeah, I also provide one, but that one is from my physics teacher. So yeah, I think we should at least have one.
Yeah, so now you know that. I guess extracurriculars. So good segue back into that. And what kind of extracurriculars did you do in high school? I like Komal. Did you play piano? I'm assuming that you played piano in high school, and you were interested in all those things as well. And Suki, you talked about how you were part of the student council. So maybe Komal, do you want to start with how you think your high school extracurriculars impacted your application?
Yeah, for sure. So in your personal profile, they actually ask you for 5 curricular activities that you do. So for me, my first one was piano. Then my second one was actually something called Key Club, which is like club at my high school focusing more on like volunteering and like community activities. So I was actually like one of the leaders for that. So I mentioned that. And then my third activity was a work experience program that I had in my school. So it was like an option class where you were assigned to like go work for 4 hours at a place. It wasn't like it was kind of like volunteering actually, because it wasn't like you didn't get money for it. But for me, I had to like go to a daycare and I had to like help the people there, the teachers, with the toddlers for 4 hours a week. And then my fourth activity was me volunteering at the local YMCA for swimming. I taught like swimming classes, volunteering. And then for my fifth activity, I just put in like I did a course in my high school about management and marketing. And for that, I also participated in Skills Canada, which is like pretty big competition all throughout summer. I had to prepare for it, and I just put that as my fifth activity.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Yep. Ihsan, what kind of extracurriculars did you do in high school that you think impacted your
Yes,
application?
I also did I think there was yes, for high school there was mandatory work experience. Yes, you could have chosen between 30 hours and 90 hours, but I think I chose 90 hours probably because I wasn't sure if I was going to find many 30-hour volunteer roles. I chose volunteer a local. Yes, I volunteered at a local place, the Telus World of Science. It's yes, it's like it's an exhibit. Yeah, it's like a museum type place where they show off different um science related uh science related exhibits and explain yeah explain science and physics and all that kind of stuff. So within school, I also did some. There was another sort of peer-to-peer thing. It was where as during some time slots in the week, there was an unstructured time period where students were allowed to work on, well, I guess catch up on homework and that kind of stuff. And as I was in charge of, I guess, observing students as they were doing that and ensuring that nothing went wrong and keeping track of attendance and stuff like that. Other than that, I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything clear cut. I wasn't in any sort of organized. Actually, no. There was also was part of this volunteering club briefly, where we sold, yes, we sold different, yes, we sold donuts and stuff outside of the local shopping plaza to raise funds for heart and stroke. Otherwise, yeah, I didn't have any clear cut extracurriculars.
Yeah. Okay, that's nice to know. And Suki, do you think like when you talked about all your different positions, do you have anything to add to it, or do you think that would be all?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Because when I write my personal statement, I kind of mention a lot of what my competition result and like what my project is, and then like yeah, what's the potential distribution to the society or something.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And for all of you applying to UBC, I'm going to give you one piece of advice, like one really great piece of advice that I heard in my when I was grade 10, I think. But this might not apply to you if you're already in grade 12, but if you're younger, perhaps this would be of help, which is when you write about volunteer opportunities, make sure that you have one that is within the scope of your school, to make sure to show that you have like local impact, and the one that is within the scope of your city, one within maybe like the scope of your province, or maybe the and then one maybe across the entire Canada, and maybe one worldwide one as well. So if you have like a broad range of different activities, that's always good. And I guess just ending the section, I have a question for you guys, which is, do you guys have any closing thoughts or advice for this year's applicants who are currently crying? I mean, stressed about their applications.
Just like be patient. I know this is a pretty daunting, stressful time, but like it's okay. You'll get over it. It'll be over soon, and just don't worry. You'll be fine. Just try to apply to as many places as you can, and yeah, just focus on your school, your grades, and you should be fine.
And if the things don't work out as well as you initially planned, there are usually some pretty good alternative paths to undertake that either land you at where you want it to be initially, or in potentially better places. So yes, while things if things don't go well initially, it's typically not the end of it all. There's probably good alternatives that land you in comparable situations.
Right. Well, for me, I would say just never give up and keep trying. And one advice is that if you did get refused from your like maybe safety university, maybe you can try argue. Like a lot of my friends doing so before. Like I think I have that I have my score, and I think I am eligible to go into UBC. So they send an argue letter to the admission center, and then yeah, it works. So maybe if you do think you like eligible for your safety university, you can do argue. Yeah, that's one of my advice.
Yeah, so that's some great advice there. And since this is, I guess, the end of the structured part of the panel, let's dive into Q&A. So I know that one question that is kind of sat there since the beginning of the panel is to Komal. So can you maybe introduce more about the CMC 1 Week program in Waterloo, like, and how to register for that program?
Yeah, so basically it's an event or workshop that focuses on like trying to get more females into the computer science faculty program, right? So they want to introduce like young females to computer science, coding, and all that stuff. So they host a workshop every year. I can share the link right in chat. And you go to that link in there's like an application portal that opens usually um when it happens in the summer, so just be on the lookout for that. So yeah, there is $150 registration fee, but everything else is accommodated by the university itself. You don't have to pay for anything. And yeah, so for the requirements, you need a good math grade. You have to submit your report card for what your current math grade is. And then there's also like an essay that you have to provide explaining um, what why you want to attend the workshop, uh, what about yourself, and the workshop is basically more highlighted on towards people who don't have any exposure to computer science before. So you're gonna like start from scratch, and they want you to like get interested in the computer programming field. I hope that helped.
So hopefully that answered the person's question. And, you know, if you're really inspired to try that, take that opportunity, definitely do it. And the next question is, do all of you know anything about the UBC, I read the next wrong line, UBC BUCS program, which is Computer Science and Business at Sauder? and how do we apply to that program?
Okay, so business is it's also a Snow's box. It's so it's a combined. Yes, I think it's a combined major, but also gets treated as an independent faculty. So it's you apply via direct admission. It's the same exact way you'd apply to science or engineering or any of those other options. And that's the so unlike I guess science and engineering, you don't end up choosing your major later, but you may potentially be able to choose a minor later on. As you'd also, in terms of courses, you would do roughly, you would do as some of the first year business courses along with some of the first year pure science courses.
That offers some insight into the BUCS program. Do any of the other panelists know anything about it? If not, that is also fine. So I'm not sure whether I guess the participants have any more questions for the panelists. It is already 5:52, and it's getting fairly close to our game night time. So if you have any questions, please ask them now. Otherwise, I think this could be an end to the panel because it is getting close to the end time that we were kind of expecting. Maybe I'll just give another minute, but while we wait, I actually have a question for all of the panelists, which is, if you could give your high school self some advice, what advice would that be?
Well, I would say do some extracurricular activity for sure. Yeah, and then yeah, especially do more volunteer work, because I really done a lot now in UBC, and that's really a pity that I haven't done much in my high school. Yeah, that's for me.
I would say just like try not to overwork yourself and try to like also take care of your mental health and just take it easy. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, I guess one thing that would have probably been worth doing in high school would probably been looking out for various opportunities. There were, I guess, several times where I would discover an opportunity, but I would discover it maybe a couple days before the applications close or a couple days after the application close. And those situations, there isn't enough time to evaluate and decide if the opportunity is right.
Yeah, that's definitely some great advice, and I hope all the participants kind of like keep that close to their hearts. And since there are no more Q&A questions, and we seem to gone through all of them, I think that will be the end of the panel. So thank you to Suki, thank you to Ihsan, thank you to Komal for being such awesome panelists and answering all those questions that we threw at you. You answered them very fantastically. So yeah, that will be the end of the panel.